welcome to the close. We have about 10 minutes left in this final day. Yep, final day of trade for the third quarter. What a quarter it's been. Joining us, though, to help break down today's action, Matt Shapiro of Stetland Equities, live at the Chicago Board Options Exchange. Our featured guest, Joe Saluzzi, co-head of equity trading at Themis Trading. Joe, good to start with you. So we just heard.
We both, Carol, I think, got emails earlier today asking us, why do you listen to Alan Greenspan after a lot of people think that he was so shared so much responsibility, at least, for the crisis? What do you think when you hear Alan Greenspan? Because he certainly is a brilliant man, and everybody makes mistakes, right?
Well, of course. I mean, and the book is not written on whether or not whose mistake it is now. I mean, we may be saying the same thing about Bernanke in a few years, right? But I don't know. I don't know why people still listen to him. People listen to a lot of people out there who were influential at a time, and anytime somebody who was influential says something, you have to listen. But they do move markets. Greenspan moves markets still. He probably moves it more than people who are in power. Today. Yeah. Now, if I get back to something that Matt said earlier about the prices of stocks and how they're acting well, and that's why he thinks the economy is doing well. That is the fallacy of this market. The biggest problem that we have is that price does not equal value. What do I mean by that? People are chasing price. Okay, I think personally we think that the market's overvalued 35 to 40% here on a fundamental valuation. And I look at valuation measures like the Q ratio and cyclically adjusted price earnings ratios. That's telling me one thing, but I'm looking at stock prices that are being chased intraday by very large, very high-frequency players who are dominating these stocks. And they're dominating ETFs also. And everybody else is just a fringe player looking in a window wondering, should I chase that stock? And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. The PMI number comes out this morning, and immediately we have a vacuum. The vacuum just plunged down. The market plunged. Everybody, what's going on? Well, everyone pulled their bids. It's not like the sellers got aggressive. The bids just walked away. They have no obligation to stand there and buy. And then what happens is, then they see, okay, we've stabilized. They put in some stabilization. They run them back up constantly. And then you get this flat line. I call it the HFT vice grip that you get the rest of the day. And it's just a way of churning stocks back and forth. So here's the key point. Price does not equal value. Price does not equal value.
All right.
Well, does that mean you're shorting the heck out of this market right here?
No, because they run you over every time. You can't do it. You can't do it.
But do you think it's overvalued 30 to 40%? I mean, it doesn't really matter if you think it's overvalued, right? What really matters is where the market's going to be in 6 months, in a year.
So trading and investing are two different things. I am not investing. What I'm trading in is a different story. But you can't fight these guys. They are way too big. They are dominant players who will run you over. Okay, but you need to be aware of what's going on out there. And believe me, I sit there all day in front of machines. I know what's going on.
Are they big enough to boost the economy, Joe?
The Fed hopes they are. But in the end, the house of cards will fall. And when it falls, we're all going to be hurt, picking up the pieces of this mess that's been created.
Okay. And this mess you talk about is all the spending, the stimulus spending that's going on, and we're creating this deficit. A viewer writes in, Trey, and he says, of course the stimulus will end, the market will adjust, and we will have massively delevered and be poised for additional growth even at higher interest rates. I mean, that's not such a strange scenario.
Well, we'll see. You know, I can't predict the future. We don't have the crystal ball. We have no idea.
Will you at least concede? We've gone through something we've never gone through before, most of us, unless anybody's really, really old. But I mean, the point is, we had to take extreme steps at this point, and we don't know how ultimately it's going to play out. And it might ultimately play out with things working out just fine,
That's right. And my bet is it won't. But okay, but here's the thing. We don't know what's going to go on. But people are acting as if, oh, everything's great. We're taking my victory lap. Obama and the rest of the politicians, it's all good. Crisis averted, everyone. You just said it, and that's the right answer. We don't know. We don't know what's going to go on here.
Well, they just got here.
What's that?
And they just got here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little early for victory lap. Let me ask you, though, about the debt, because I get, we get emails also from our most bearish viewer, Robert White, always saying they'll never be able to pay off this debt. I'm talking with David Levy in a little bit. He says, look, we had debt levels, and he's very bearish as well. We had debt levels higher than this in the Second World War. Japan has had debt levels way higher than this, and they're still able to pay it off. Is it really such a concern, or when the economy kicks up, will we be, if the economy kicks up in a serious way, will we be able to easily deal with it?
Sure, raise taxes. Raise taxes, and that'll be a dent in your debt. But there's some way you have to pay for this. But you know the way the politicians are. Once they get a little savings somewhere else, they'll just go spend it somewhere else.
But you don't see that the economy will turn around.
It will turn around eventually.
And provide additional tax revenue, not just by raising taxes, but just better economic
Today, every second page of the Wall Street Journal, falling tax revenue slams states. I wrote that one down. So the states are getting hammered.
I know, but if things turn around, all of this turns around.
Eventually it will. We came out of the Great Depression, right?
Correct.
20 years later, or whatever it took. It took a war to get us out. Okay, yeah, it'll eventually get better, hopefully. You know, that famous word, hopefully, which I hate. As soon as I hear the word somebody say hopefully, I discount that commentary.
You don't trade on hope?
No, hope is not an investment
strategy.
No, you don't use hope anymore.
Joe, it's always a pleasure.
You're wrong.
We'll see. I'll be back.
We'll get you back, hopefully, on this show. It's always a pleasure to have you on. I got about 100 emails here. People love you.
Saluzzi, everybody, over at Themis Trading. We're going to take a break here.